Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen, this time with a Squadron 42 update with the progress Foundry 42 is making on the game. A lot of this will actually make its way into Star Citizen as well, so bear that in mind. The VFX team there have been making various improvements to the glass shaders, which can be used on many assets, including an unlit mode that they've made, which removes reflections and glare, so it can be used on visors, helmets and ship canopies and windows, so you don't have that terrible glare when you're flying ships around anymore. That is awesome. That's one of the best things I've heard for a while. Conversely, they have added refractions, allowing them to turn on glare and blurred reflections for effects like frosted glass, a sandblasted look, or even condensation, grease, fingerprints, all that sort of stuff. They can combine all of these techniques as visual cues for damage or stamina if they wanted to, or they can create interesting looking props with them. They have further improved crack effects, so they can realistically smash glass and UI screens. They've also been working on screen interference, which will affect your HUDs and MFDs and your cockpit. This is going to be used heavily in the coil in Squadron 42, which is the Odin system, where a lot of the gameplay will take place. They are going to have like static storms, amongst other things that are all going to affect the way your ship operates and cause this interference. They've been adding more unique contrails, which are going to be used for ships moving around, again, in the coil, gas clouds, and that sort of stuff, for example. The Idris has, over its development, over doubled in size, and they've had to make design tweaks to accommodate the extra crew. They've added pilots and officer quarters, which is linked to the rest of the crew area. The Shubin facility is massive as well. Lots of Squadron 42's story is centered around it. Inside the station, it's dark and daunting. It has to have this monorail system because it's so large so you can get around, and that's going to be fully usable in-game as well. One of the other major locations shown in the vertical slice in December for Squadron 42 was the old Chem Lab facility. They are working on a new control room prop set for that particular facility and similar facilities, which is going to sort of like be high tech but old. Kind of looks like a cross between Drake and the Aegis Reclaimer kind of style when it comes to props. You'll see probably old abandoned Chem Lab type facilities around the verse as well. They are prototyping weapon inspections for weapons that you are currently carrying, so it will allow you to, with a weapon in your hand, rotate that weapon so you can see it from any angle and you can see what attachments you have on it. Also, that's pretty cool if you have some sort of bespoke or rare skin for a weapon, or you've painted your weapon in a particular color, or you've looted someone else in the future, you picked up their things and you want to look at them, potentially take attachments off or whatever. They are working on the turrets for the Vandal Hunter ship as well, the Hunter ship being pretty big. The kind of style for the Vandal is that organic, spiky, flowery, fluid sort of design look, and they seem to be pushing that very much so. Gameplay story animation. So, there are two different production teams for Squadron 42. Cinematics, which focus on major story and plot points. It takes you through the core of the game's story and has the major cinematic scenes where lots of cool stuff is happening. Now, the gameplay story team, the second team, and they're concerned with adding greater depth to some of those scenes, but also detail in general, player experience. They look at interactivity and player choice a lot, typically having gameplay mechanics in some way attached to them. So rather than being a cinematic scene, which you might be able to move around in, it would be that, but you can open the cupboards, you can help someone with a microwave, you're watching other NPCs in the mess hall eat and that sort of stuff. There's lots of that kind of gameplay with the gameplay story team, adding depth and detail. All of the NPCs on the Idris have their own lives and schedules. These will be affected per person based on your actions and interactions. They're all going to have their own backstories, and this is going to be true even of some of the enemies and pirates that you fight in the game. And obviously that's going to kind of go into what they're trying to do with Star Citizen in general, which is have those 24-hour schedules for NPCs, and a lot of those NPCs will have quite a lot of depth to them. Most of the story cinematic scenes will be fully interactive. There's going to be lots of NPC side stories and lots of different ways of doing things. Some characters are needed to drive plot or for signposting, others just additions that make the game come to life and give you extra things to do. But each of the NPCs will have a goal or job or role in mind. Maybe it's for that particular time of the day to operate a particular terminal, or to go to bed, or patrol a particular corridor at that particular time. That is what they are trying to do, but things might slow them down. Things might mean they can't do that. They want NPCs to feel like they are reacting to you as real people. There are situations during development where they're creating a scene, but they might not have some tech or prop necessary to be able to complete that, in which case they actually request help from another team. They can blend mocap from multiple different takes together to get a full mocap capture or a better pickups and that sort of stuff as well. NPCs will need to move to certain locations in real time for a scene to take place potentially. Some can actually be prevented from getting there, and they're going to react to other NPCs as well. Some scenes might be different potentially because you've stopped an NPC from getting there, or something's happened to stop them. These scenes are currently ranging from like one-liners from a single character, just giving you a wild line as you pass them, but you could have these giant scenes that they've created with 12 characters all interacting with lots of action going on at the same time. Now, there were some other bits that I've already previously talked about in videos, but as it's relatively new news from talking to Aaron and BoredGamer stuff, I thought I'd chuck it in here. During BoredGamer, it was also stated that the Evocati should be getting to test Squadron 42 Episode 1 before it releases. I suspect that's going to be just before, and it's just to hammer out the last of the bugs. I know there's a reasonable amount of worry from the community about spoilers coming from that test. However, I suspect that CIG will potentially lock down Evocati even more, and even potentially the Reddits or whatever might say, well, no spoilers in the week before Star Citizen's release or Squadron 42's release from these Evocati tests. So hopefully that won't be an issue. Also, the Squadron 42 roadmap will be added to the Star Citizen quarterly roadmap at some point, but there's still no time frame on that, or at least I wasn't given one. Your choices in Squadron 42 Episode 1 will carry over to Episode 2, Episode 3, and the Persistent Universe. Episode 2 and 3 are both in pre-production. Designers are obviously focused on Episode 1's production currently. There is a lot of tool and AI work still to be done for Episode 1, though the AI for Squadron 42 is not nearly as complicated as the Persistent Universe's AI, because it needs to be very dynamic. The AI in multiplayer for the Persistent Universe and Squadron 42 does not have to worry about that at this stage, and they can obviously rely a bit more on scripting and very specific individual characters in a smaller environment. So they don't have to worry about all these NPCs traveling around multiple systems or anything. They can concentrate on just the storytelling for Squadron 42 and those set missions. Every month we have a giveaway for Star Citizen. For this April, it's a massive salvage ship, the Aegis Reclaimer, provided by our featured app, MyRadar. MyRadar is a free weather app that also includes full-scale maps of the 3 moons of Crusader, including Yela, Selen, and Daimar. Users can scroll around the interactive maps and zoom in to the landscape to see the geography of those moons. MyRadar is available in the US, Europe, Japan, South Korea, and coming this summer to Australia. It is a real-life weather app as well, so you can see the weather in your general area and in those countries too. It's available on iOS, Android, and Windows. Please check it out in the links below if you are interested. But to be in for a chance of that Reclaimer, make sure you're subscribed to my YouTube channel and comment on any of my videos throughout April. Each video gives you another chance to win. Do you have any questions about Star Citizen, its development, gameplay mechanics, suggestions for videos, whatever? Chuck them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. A special thank you to my Patreons who allow me to create the amount of content I do. If you're interested in becoming one of them, please find the links to Patreon as well as everything else was discussed down below. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, as it really does help me, and I'll see you in the verse.